Okay. Our next speaker, one word, like Madonna, is Faris. He is the former head of innovation in the design studio at First Abu Dhabi Bank. He has over a decade of experience leading transformation efforts at organizations like Lloyds Banking Group. Today, he's here to talk about just how real UX transformation isn't just about pretty interfaces. It's about breaking down silos and fixing outdated systems and rethinking how companies operate from the inside out. Ladies and gentlemen, Faris.
Hello. Can I have a ticket? Thank you so much. Hey everybody. I think me and Katral have the graveyard shift, right? Just before lunch, everyone's kind of like, please let us go. I'm going to try and make this slightly different to what you might expect from some corporate guy, some corporate stuffy guy, right? I'm going to try and get you involved. You'll see I call myself a bit of a corporate rebel. That's a little bit because each time I leave a company, I feel like they're a little bit happier that I'm not there. So anyway, I'm actually now teaching at a business school just down the road, Holt Business School. You might have driven past it on the way in, teaching design thinking for innovation. So that's actually really scary, standing in front of a bunch of kind of 20 to 25-year-olds who really just don't have any time for you. So I'm hoping you're going to be a lot lighter and easier audience for me, and you're going to engage, okay? Because I need some responses from you as part of this. So if anyone wants to connect, I put my QR code for my LinkedIn on there. Hopefully we can connect and carry on the conversation later on. So you'll see the title of this talk is To UX from CorpX. Now, we'll talk a little bit about what CorpX is in a little bit, but you might be wondering, why have I phrased it that way around? Why would it not be the standard linear thing, which is from CorpX to UX, right? Success. It's because I wanted to tell you about a love story that you didn't actually know that you needed. And that's how I'm going to phrase this today. Why is it a love story that you didn't know you needed? It's because love stories tend to end very well. This one doesn't end well all the time. Okay? But I was looking for inspiration. I was like, what kind of love story could I use to illustrate my point? And hopefully you guys have heard of this love story. Maybe you've seen it. It's a very famous one. It involves Gerard Butler, Hilary Swank. Is it ringing any bells? Has everyone seen? No? Ah, there it is. Has everyone seen this? Can you hands up if you've seen? Hands up. Sorry, the light's really strong here. Okay, so for those that don't know this love story, it follows a widow, Hilary Swank, whose late husband, Gerard Butler, leaves her a series of letters that takes her through a number of kind of life events, okay? And so you're thinking now, what on earth is this guy doing? He's coming from a bank. He's telling us about Hilary Swank. What is he on about, right? But actually, I thought I would frame the outcome, or what I want you to take away from this talk in the context of a love letter. Okay? So I'm going to try and fill this letter as we go through this talk. And it's going to start with to UX, and it's going to be from CorpX. Okay? So what you might be thinking is, this could go somewhere, right? I was speaking to Brooke the other day, and she said they're thinking about making a sequel for this movie. And I was like, guys, it's right here. P.S. I love user experience, right? There is definitely an opportunity here, yeah? Okay. Let's see, you need to tell me if it's good enough to make into a movie afterwards. Okay, so how do we start? Hands up in the room. If you're on the agency side, UX on the agency side. Okay, and keep your hands up if you generally work with the larger type of clients, larger corporates. Okay, good. Hands down. Hands up if you work on the client side. Oh, wow. There's only a few of us. Okay, and large corporates or smaller? Large? Okay, so this is good because actually maybe I'm going to be able to give you an insight from the inside, right, of the organizations. Okay, so please, where am I aiming this? Here, okay. So first of all, let's talk about the kind of the misalignment between UX and CorpX. And again, CorpX is something that I literally made up for today's talk, so if you don't know what that means, that's fine. I'm going to explain that shortly, but you all know what UX is, right? Now, the first question you might ask yourself is, why is any of this important, right? So what? You know, I can hear all of you, your inside voices are all saying, oh yeah, we know corporates are really, really bad when it comes to UX. They don't tend to be good at it. They sit in their ivory towers. Christine, you mentioned ivory towers. It's all about financial measures and shareholder over customer and efficiencies and things like that. I just want you to hold those thoughts, okay? That's absolutely fair, but I want you to hold those thoughts. And I want to talk a little bit about why I think there's something else that we need to focus on, okay? And why there's maybe a different challenge here. So, what the hell is UX anyway? We have way more, and I'm talking like way more developed skills in the room than here on the stage right now in terms of UX. And I would never claim to be a specialist, okay? So I went out to the internet and I was trying to work out what the hell is UX, right? Anyone in the room want to kind of give us a definition? Anyone brave? Brave. You, madam, at the front, you're brave. You're sitting at the front. You must be brave. Okay, I won't do that. Anyone want to do it? Who wants to do it? Come on. You all work in UX. What is UX? If you don't know this, then we should just leave. No one. Okay, all right, fine. I'll tell you what Wikipedia told me, because that's the source of all truth, yeah? Wikipedia said, it is how a user interacts with and experiences a product, system, or service, which I think is fair, right? But then I was like, it's Wikipedia. Anyone could have gone on there and written it. I mean, any of you guys who clearly don't know the definition could have gone to Wikipedia and written this, right? Right? So I went to some more specialists, the NN guys, right? They know what they're talking about, right? What do they say? They said user experience encompasses all aspects of the end user's interaction with the company, its services, and its products. Feels pretty good? Feels pretty good? Hands up if that feels like a pretty good definition. Okay, great. So then I was like, I need to get a slightly different perspective here. So I went to the ISO, okay, which Interaction Design Foundation use. And what do they say? So it's a little bit different. It's a bit of a different perspective here, right? So they talk about perceptions and responses that result from the use or anticipated use of a product or service, which I thought was really interesting. Hands up if that feels good. If you've not put your hand up at all, then I don't know where your definitions are, right? Okay. Okay, who thinks that number 4 is a good definition? Okay, keep your hands up if you thought that I accidentally forgot to remove that from the slide because it was there before. Okay. No, actually, so while I was doing this, I kind of went down a really deep rabbit hole, right? While I was doing this, I just went and tried to find out where has this thing come from? Why do we always use lorem ipsum? Okay? And it turns out that this comes from a piece of writing that's over 2,000 years old. 2,000 years old, right? And what is the title of that piece of writing? The Extremes of Good and Evil by Shishira. And then I was like, wow. I'm coming here talking about organizations not embedding UX and then good and evil. It just all works so well, right? Okay, so we've got some decent definitions for UX, okay? So now we know what that is. What on earth is CorpX, all right? And before any of you start taking pictures and start posting it on LinkedIn and claiming it for yourselves, I've already trademarked this. Don't try it. You have to give me full credit if you use this, okay? So I tried to start with some of the options that we saw before, okay? Using the Nielsen-Norman definition for UX. I then took it and I just played it around a little bit slightly. So now it becomes the aspects of an employee's interactions, right, with their company, okay? So their ability to create product and services within that large corporate, okay? Remember, I'm giving you the context of larger kind of legacy incumbent corporates here, okay? So that's the NNG version. And then I went for the Interaction Design Foundation version. And actually, this is interesting because then it starts to say an employee's perceptions and responses that result from their contribution to or anticipated contribution. So I started to break this down. This is all getting very complicated. It actually felt simplified. It's like there is 2 corporate experiences here. There's a preemptive one and a reactive one. So when your corporate experience is going well, from a preemptive perspective, it means like, you know what? I have the ability to go and create products and services on behalf of my company. Great, fantastic. From a reactive perspective, it means that if I'm going into a company and they have established products and services, I know, because I'm a UXer, like I know heuristics, I know mental models, I know how people interact with these things, I can go and give feedback and be like, guys, there's a little bit of a problem here, okay? That's good. That's a good corporate experience, CorpX, okay? What about if it's negative? What does it look like in the negative side of things, okay? So from the Nielsen-Norman side, I don't have any authority. It's not in my remit. I can't make any impact on any products and services. I can't create them. We often hear about this discussion. It's on LinkedIn all the time. Designers seat at the table. UX is seat at the table, right? That doesn't exist? Okay, that's a bad corporate experience. Okay. From the reactive side, it's the fear of engagement. I know that there are issues here, but if I come and give those to you, I'm worried that you're going to say, hey, go and sit in your box, please. Go back up to your labs with your jeans and your Post-its. I don't need to hear it. I'm a business owner. Or you've stayed there for so long that you just become completely indifferent. I'm not going to be able to make a difference anyway, so I'll just keep my mouth shut, even though I know that navigation is going to go nowhere. Yeah? Okay. Can everyone kind of resonate with these feelings who've interacted with corporates? Yeah? Okay. So that's what CorpX is, to me, at least, okay? So, what I wanted to tell you about is, of course, CorpX deeply affects our ability to be great UXers as a result. Yeah? Hopefully you're seeing this thread, right? But what are the main barriers to fully embedding UX? This is a question to the room. What are the main barriers? What comes to your mind if I say, you know what, large corporates are really bad at embedding UX as a practice, as a method, as a mindset? What are the main barriers that comes to mind? Just give me one. Budgets. Okay, interesting. Another one? Whoa, so many now. Wow. See? Everything's right. Okay, yeah. Okay. Very good. See, we can talk. I knew it. We had it in us. We just needed to loosen up a little bit. Great. So, I'm going to tell you about the ones that I hear and I see the most, okay, from my experience. Again, this is just my perspective that I'm giving to you, and I'm open to challenge on this, okay? But generally, what I see is three traditional barriers that people talk about and people exclaim as, this is the reason why we can't embed UX, okay? And what are those three things? Okay, first question, does anybody know what this thing is on the left-hand side? Oh, you guys all knew that? Oh, wow. Who was today years old when they learned that that was a silo? Okay, just me? Very good. Right. Siloed thinking, yeah? I think there was a couple of talks that mentioned silos, right? We often go to silos. Silos is a massive problem. There's disparate data. The journey's all broken up. The customer experience is awful, right? That's very, very often claimed as the reason it's bad UX. Does anybody know what this thing is in the middle here? Who said mini disc? You're an amazing man. Well done. It is a mini disc player. You might not have seen this because it kind of was sandwiched between Walkmans and then CD players. It lasted for about 6 months and then disappeared, yeah? But technology is often given as the main reason we have bad UX. You might have heard things like, oh, our processes are so manual. There's so much paper. Or alternatively, we have systems, but they're so old, and it's really, really hard to improve them. Yeah, this kind of notion of legacy, okay? And the third one, who's ever felt like this? You started a new role in a corporate or a new project in a corporate. You go in with such ambition. This is going to be heavenly. I'm going to make such an impact here. And then you realize that your head just does not fit through the hole that it needs to, right? What do I mean by this is that there's this kind of misalignment, right? People say things like, well, we already know our customers. Our product is great. Look, we're the biggest insurance company or biggest brand in the region or whatever it might be. Or we don't have time. We don't have budget. Who mentioned budget down here, right? We don't have budget. We need to deliver by Q3. We can't do UX. Okay, so I think it's fair. These are the ones that I hear. I think you can probably resonate with some of those, right? But what do we end up doing? What do we end up doing to solve those, okay? And this is where I think we start making a mistake, because we start solutionizing for the wrong problems, okay? So what often ends up happening? Standalone UX fixes. I'm putting the fixes in kind of inverted commas, right? What you'll see popping up at the bottom there is kind of a mini version of what the ladies from Assist showed us before, service blueprint, right? This is actually, I'm going to show you just a tiny little cutout up here on the top left of the screen, or top left for me, top right. This is a mortgage journey in one of the banks that I was working in, yeah? Very, very complex. Any service designers in the room except for the ladies at Assist Digital? Any service designers? Yeah, okay. So you will know this kind of pain around the Band-Aid solutions, yeah? So in this case, we have a branch network that sells a lot of mortgages. That's pretty much the main channel. But the branches are very manual, so what are we going to do? What should we do? Okay, let's put some iPads in the branches. Yeah? iPads. I mean, it's obvious. Let's digitize the branch. Okay, iPads in the branches. Do you think that helped the end-to-end journey? No. Yes, you're right. It did not. Okay? Fine. So we do these standalone UX fixes. What else do we do? I'm traumatized. I'm genuinely traumatized. I was part of a project. I spent over a year on a project looking at consolidating all the corporate banking client systems into one. It was going to be amazing. It was going to be career defining. We were going to make one beautiful UX. It was going to be fantastic. Then a new stakeholder came in and goes, yeah, about that. There's a technology provider that can actually do the front end, the back end, or the middle, and can design it and deliver it. After we'd already had the journeys going, the squad set up, the designers, the researchers. We were ready to make some difference. But then someone just came in and said, no, technology will resolve all of this. Don't worry about it. Okay. A second solution that we often see, which doesn't end up helping us. And then we do this third thing, where we outsource. And by the way, can I just say, I am fully happy, and I actually do it myself, that I outsource projects. That's not the problem here, okay? I've used my beautiful friends at Dots plenty of times, okay? But what sometimes ends up happening is, it's a tick box exercise, right? I need to do some research, guys. I need to do some design, guys, as a project, okay? So what do? I throw it over the wall and I say, hey, agency, can you go and do some research, please? Agency goes away, talks to customers. Wow, look at this amazing insight. Look at this wonderful report I've put together. Then it gets thrown back over the wall, comes back into the organization, and what happens? Nothing, right? Because some senior stakeholder decides, wow, those are some really nice charts and graphs that you got there, but actually we're just going to go with this, okay? Thank you so much for your time, right? So we have these kind of 3 traditional problems and 3 traditional solutions. That's generally what you see, okay? But I think what the problem is that we're still missing the core issue. So what is the core issue? He's taken so long to get to this, right? What's the real problem to solve? Another slide he hasn't told us. Okay, let me bring back this example. This is the mortgage example, yeah? Did we see all of those 3 traditional solutions in this example? Did we see the standalone research project? Yeah. Guys, we need to digitize branches. What are Do and Etisalat doing? Well, theirs is like really, really transformed. They got screens everywhere, and it's awesome. Okay, we did some research. Yeah. Did we have the, give me that tech, shut up and take my money? Yeah. We put some iPads in there. Okay, great. Did we do some random experience fix? Yeah. Okay, great. So we had all 3 of our traditional solutions, and nothing changed. And then it got me thinking, why is that the case? How do you think that we measured this journey? Anyone? How is this measured, this journey? NPS? Any others? Sales? Okay. So on a journey level, you might measure things like RFT. Does anybody know what RFT is? Right first time. Can anyone guess what the right first time was for this journey? Right first time meaning that if you apply, it goes all the way through all of the teams and you receive your funding at the end. What was the right first time for this journey? 0%. 0% right first time. What does that mean? It means that it comes to one team, they do their thing, it goes to another team, but that next team might not be able to finish what they do, so they send it back to the previous team, right? You get more information, get more documentation, whatever it might be, okay? Another way that you might measure the journey is the end-to-end time, right? What do you think the end-to-end time was for this? Forever. Well, actually, yeah, nobody knew, right? But then what were teams being measured on? Anybody know what an SLA is? I'm giving you so much corporate jargon today. You guys are going to be, your brains are going to be exploding. Service level agreements, right? It basically just means how long I will take to do my task. Can anyone guess, by the way, this is measured on red, yellow, and green. Can anybody guess what color the SLAs were? Red. No, they were green. Who shouted red? No, so the point being, everyone was being measured on this, and it was green. You looked at this journey from an SLA perspective, everything was green, everything was wonderful and dandy, but it took forever, right? And then it got me thinking, well, why is this happening? It's because metrics drive behaviors, right? Measures, how you are measured will drive your behavior. If you're going to get a bonus based on your KPIs, which are 1, 2, 3, you're going to do 1, 2, 3. You're not going to do 4, which is what this UX guy told you to do, correct? What do you do, madam, if you don't mind me asking? Sorry, okay, you don't have to answer. Okay, you're a bad example. Muzzy, you work for Rackbank, right? Okay, so you have a bunch of KPIs. Do you do anything else except for those things? And don't lie. See, he's not altruistic. No one is. You're going to do what you're measured on, what's going to make you successful in the sense that you're going to get paid your bonus, right? Metrics drive behaviors. Okay. The reason why I wrote this is because, or I gave this talk is because I actually wrote a post on LinkedIn a year ago, and I was so frustrated one day, and I was writing about design thinking at scale in organizations and why it couldn't happen. Look how much I ranted. So many problems, right? The first one there was metrics drive behaviors. But the interesting thing that came out of this post was actually from Neil Cross, who's the ex-chief innovation officer at DBS in Singapore. Right, they went through a massive transformation, became a very kind of innovation or design-led company, let's say. And for a bank, that's pretty challenging, yeah? And what did he say? He said, I succeeded because I didn't focus on design thinking or innovation. I focused on helping important people achieve their bonus. That was my ticket to entry. I then had the space to do design thinking, innovation, wear shorts to work, live in the jungle with orangutans. That is a direct quote, and he literally did all of those things. Okay? But what was the point? The fact is he focused on helping people achieve their bonus. Metrics drive behaviors. If you want people to change, then you need to focus on what drives them. Right. So, do you remember Hilary Swank at the start? When Gerard Butler's giving her a hug in P.S. I Love User Experience, which will become a film, you will have seen there was a letter being put in her pocket. That was her bonus letter. And she realized now that her measures had changed, she was getting no bonus. And that's when she realized that day she finally had to change. Okay. So this is going to become a film. You can see it happening, right? Okay. So, embedding UX. How do we do that? We need to change CorpX. Okay. How do we do that? Behavior has to change. But how do we do that? Metrics have to change. Okay, very good. What is the silver bullet that we've all been looking for, that you're waiting for? I actually don't have one. But it's definitely not going to be Pepper Robots or Gen AI. Okay? But Gen AI is good. Gen AI is very good. What's it going to do? It's helping us prepare for the future, for these new customers that are arriving that we've all been talking about today, yeah? Has anyone's world actually changed since the Apple Vision Pro came out? Because they said that the Vision Pro will change the world around you. I'm just wondering. No? Okay. Because Meta's now released some glasses which are way smaller and way more practical as well, right? But, okay, I'm not a futurist, right? But what I'm saying is customers, they're going to stick with the same things that they've always wanted. I want it faster, okay? Technology is helping, I want it faster. I want it more personalized. I want to see that you're evolving with me, right? If I can use these tools in the palm of my hand, why are you not leveraging them to better serve me? Okay. But again, our problem is not tech, all right? And we shouldn't forget that. It can help us within corporates, because doing UX becomes way easier now. You can ask someone who's never done UX before to go to ChatGPT and say, hey, can you help me generate a user persona for this segment to do this, who's looking at this problem? It becomes way easier, right? It gets them on the ladder, let's say, okay? And our corporate colleagues are more likely to try it. But how do we solve for this kind of CorpX problem? How might we embed UX, okay? And I think this is a challenge that I place to you as all these kind of, you are in a position where you're going into these large corporates as agencies, and you're there to help them to mature across this journey. And I think there is something that you could potentially be focusing on, right? And I think we should be focusing our UX efforts on the inside of the organization before we start focusing on the external customer, okay? What do I mean by that? I want you to specifically start looking at metrics and how they impact on CorpX, yeah? What are the types of things that we could do? Let's do some more research to understand which metrics drive which behaviors. Let's just do some empathy mapping, see how motivations are determined by measures. Let's become clear about this. Let's talk about this with senior leadership, right? Why don't we do service design of the process of actually creating these metrics? Yeah? There are a number of things we can do. We can test new methods of measurement. I was actually reading yesterday, or the day before, Jakob Nielsen of NN. He was talking about how there's now a lot of anti-usability metrics out there. So if you think about all of our social media apps, they're trying to get us to stay on the screen all the time, right? That's kind of how they're measuring themselves. But that's not a good sign of usability, right? That's a good sign of wasting our time. So how do we start testing new ways of measurement and new KPIs? Or alternatively, realigning our UX activities to more traditional metrics, okay? So I'm almost done rambling, right? But I think once we begin to crack the metric problem, being a UXer will be way easier for these to engage with these large corporates, right? And I need to finish with one thing. I need to finish because I told you that there's a letter that we were going to fill in, right? Are we on? No. Okay. Let me just skip through that, yeah? I'll leave you with this letter. And please don't get emotional, okay? I know it's emotional. To UX. It's not you, it's me. You see, most people just don't understand me. It's not just the fact that they choose to only find out about a little bit of parts of me and leave the rest undiscovered, you know? It's not just about the fact that they always want to buy expensive, fancy things. It's not just because they live in the moment, whereas I always need to see the bigger picture. The truth is, when they finally understand what drives me, what makes me behave the way that I do, and understand that it's not a problem I have with you, but something more, maybe, just maybe, one day we can finally be together. P.S. I love user experience from CorpX. Thank you. No. I don't know if there's time for questions, right?
Yeah, we're going to take a couple of
Okay, great.
Thank you so much for such an entertaining talk.
No worries.
Better? We'll get it right by the end, okay? All right, Faris, for you. What is the biggest barrier for corporates working in a customer-centric way? Stakeholders, red tape, profits first, and structures and attitudes.
So the last slide that I had to skip through, which was kind of the summary, was my main point was that it's not actually the people. So I know a lot of the times we go in as kind of UX design thinking people and we see all these other employees and we're like, they just hate us. They just hate what we do. They hate UX. That is never the case, right? I never think that the employees or the stakeholders are the problem. And this is exactly what I'm trying to get at with this talk today. If we're not focusing on what actually drives them, what are they going into work to do every day? Because they're not altruistic. You don't go and work for a bank because you just love the bank so much, right? That's not what you're doing. You're there because you need to tick a box, and that box will hopefully get you paid at the end of the month and maybe get you a little bit more paid at the end of the year. So I don't think I think the main barrier, okay, yes, red tape exists, silos exist, we talked about all those things, but what's the root cause? If we were to go through the 5 whys exercise, it feels like to me the very base issue, which we've not really focused on until now, is how do we change metrics first before we start trying to do any of this new stuff, new age stuff, all this UX thing that you're talking about for banks, which is very new.
Awesome. Thank you. Got that. We'll go with one more question, and that is, do you see a change recently in corporates' priority and understanding of UX, or do you see any changes coming down the line?
Yeah, so I started to touch on this. I think actually, although I hate to start with technology as the first thing, I always think it's the last thing we should look at. But I think this new tech is really helping us, right? There's no excuse to say, well, it's going to take us too long to do all the pre-work to do any of our UX stuff because now you can generate discussion guides in a minute. You can generate personas in a minute. I'm not saying those are the refined things, but they give you a baseline to start with, right? So I do see a change coming. Have I seen a change recently in corporates? Look, I think it depends on the markets that you go to. I think when I moved to this market, which was maybe 6 years ago, it was lagging seriously behind London, where I was previously. But I think I've started to see them catch up. But a lot of it is still talk. A lot of it is still, innovation is super important. It is super important. You guys need to innovate. How, when, why. None of that stuff is really, the detail around how an employee would actually do it is very, very difficult to come by. So I am seeing changes. Are they going very quickly? No. Do I believe that we'll see a change in the future? I am hopeful, but I'm not a futurist, as I said on the previous slide. So hope that answers the question.
Thank you very much, Faris.
Thank you so much.
And thank you on behalf of Digital Things and the UX Alliance.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. Thank you.